Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's weekly live immigration attorney chat here at Immigration for Couples. I am attorney Megan Pastrana, and my firm, we are dedicated exclusively to helping couples across the nation and across the world and navigating the U.S. immigration process. And I'm excited to be with all of you here today. I always like to start by letting all of you know about the Free Resource Center. So if you are new and this is the first live you're joining, welcome. It's great to have you. If you have questions, throw those in the comments and I will answer them in the order that I receive them. I am streaming live on 4 different platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. And so I answered the questions in the order that they come into me and that I receive them. So the Free Resource Center, though, that my firm and I have is at immigrationforcouples.com. And Ria, she's part of our team and she's here on the live with me today. She'll throw a comment in as well. And so this Free Resource Center is a great place for you to start if you're just starting out on your immigration journey or in the middle. It's very robust. We have downloadable charts that really break down the process and the steps involved in both the fiance and spouse visa process. And I also have a free webinar that I highly encourage you to check out, and it has a downloadable guide. And in that webinar, I talk about the 4 options that are available to couples as they're starting out on their immigration journey, how to prove your relationship, and how to not just survive the immigration journey, but how to thrive. So all of that is in our Free Resource Center. And I like to also start out and ask all of you, where are you at in the world? And where are you at in your immigration journey? So you can just say, just starting out, in the middle, or at the end. And how are you doing? That's a really important question that I always like to ask, because I know going through an immigration process can be nothing short of overwhelming and stressful. And this is a community that we have created here, hosting these weekly live events and all of our resources and social media, but especially this community here where I answer questions live every week to help you know that you are not alone in your immigration journey. And we like to check in and see how you're feeling and how you're doing. All right. So let's see. Ginger, great to see you. You're always usually one of our first ones to join. So it's great to have you back. Good morning. You're in the United Kingdom. And yes, that is a great way to look at it, that you are 1 week closer, 1 day closer, 1 week closer on your immigration journey. So congratulations. That's exciting. Phil, great to see you. Phil and Anne watching from Thailand. You're waiting for the National Visa Center for the documentarily qualified. That's awesome. It's a good place to be. That should be coming very soon. The documentarily qualified review from the National Visa Center. They've really caught up since the pandemic, so that's great. They are typically reviewing documents within a matter of a few weeks, sometimes less, and letting people know they're documentarily qualified. And for those of you maybe who are just starting out on your immigration journey, it might be like, I'm speaking another language. Like, what is NVC and documentarily qualified? Essentially, when you receive a notice that says you're documentarily qualified, it means you're in the queue for the last step in the process for an interview on a U.S. embassy or consulate. If you have a fiance visa, that will be the last stop before you receive the visa, and you'll have steps when you come inside of the U.S. But National Visa Center, documentarily qualified, is for spouse visa cases, and it means that, that you're in line for an interview. So you're getting very close. So that's great. Okay. And Phil, you have a great question, and I will definitely get to that. I want to see, yay. So I want to see updates where everybody is at in the world and where you at in your immigration journey and how are you doing. So children are documentarily qualified and headed to the consulate in Brazil. You're waiting for the interview date. Congratulations. That's super exciting. We're all celebrating you and hope you get an interview date soon. Lisa, you're just relaxing in bed, listening to wind chimes gently ringing. I love wind chimes. They're just so peaceful. My husband thinks that they're irritating. And he said, I don't know why you find that relaxing, but I do. I like the wind chimes because we're all different, right? So I don't have them because I don't want to annoy him. We have other things that are peaceful, but I love that that's what you're doing this morning, getting some relaxation in. Just wanted to see if I had anybody else telling me where they're at in the world and how they're doing. Okay, looks like I have a lot of questions. Yeah, maybe it's the tone. Maybe I can find some other ones. He likes the rain ones, the ones that you hang up in the I can't remember what they're called, but like the rain trickles down them. He's okay with that. So we have one of those. All right. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just dive into questions. We have a lot of them, and I know you're all anxious to get your questions answered. So that's what I'm here for. And that I'm glad that you're always grateful for the sessions. I'm glad to have you here. So your question today, you're wanting to know if there are any states in particular that process adjustment of status cases faster than your partner, and you have a lot of flexibility when you arrive to the U.S. You're currently awaiting your fiance visa. You have contacts in New York, and you have other options that are great but not necessary. You want to prioritize turnaround time since we have flexibility. Okay, looks like you have here, let me see. And then, so you're wanting to know, long story short, you're wanting to know, is there a state where the adjustment of status process is processed faster? And because it sounds like you don't necessarily have a place set, you're not, set on moving to a particular state, and you're open. And then you're also wanting to know if you move during the process, how that would impact wait times. All right. So those are really interesting. You said LOL. Yes, long question. It's all right. It's all right. So it's an interesting question, and I'm just pausing here to kind of let my wheels turn. And the reason that I'm pausing is because I we always here at Immigration for Couples tell our clients, we want you to make decisions from a place of how you would make decisions even if the immigration case weren't there. That's a starting point. Sometimes, a lot of times, the immigration case is going to make your plans have a different timeline, or you'll have to be flexible and adjust. And I always want the starting point to be, what is it that you want for your future? So wait times in immigration, it's a fickle beast. Yes, somebody might have a case in California that processed in 6 months, and you may process at that same center, and it could be twice as long, or it could be faster. And so it really trying to pick a place where it's going to be fastest. I can give you a few states that currently, wait times tend to be shorter, and I can tell you which ones tend to be longer, but that's not always the case. In those same places, we've had cases that take longer or cases that take less time. And so the starting point really should be, because you're already going through an immigration process that's dictating a lot of things in your life and probably impacting, your timeline and your goals and for the future. And so I would really encourage you to ask yourself, and both of you to think about, where do we want to live? Where do we feel has the most opportunities for us upon arrival? Where can we envision ourselves living? And that's where you should live. That's my advice, outside of just, I'm really giving more life advice than legal advice. And to answer your question, in general, places that have a much longer wait time for a decision. I know Chicago and New York seem to have very long wait times. Texas recently, a lot of the service centers there have very long wait times. Florida typically tends to have longer wait times. California right now seems to have shorter wait times for adjustment of status. California, Hawaii, we have a lot of clients in Hawaii that they have a shorter wait time for adjustment of status. Yeah, those would be the main ones. Like when I think what comes to top of mind, California and Hawaii seem to be faster for adjustment of status. That's not always true. And then those other states that I mentioned tend to be longer. And pick a place that you envision like putting down roots and starting your life, and we're going to have the most opportunities. And so Annette, you said you get that. You're both so indecisive, but I get that, making sure the choice comes from an authentic place. Yeah, because if you keep letting immigration and this process dictate what you're doing for your life, that's no way to live. And I understand being in indecision. This is a really big next chapter for you both. I mean, you're starting your lives together in the United States. It's a new place. You're living in a new place. It's a lot of change, and moving can be overwhelming and exciting and scary and all kinds of things all at once. And so really, I know you're indecisive, but but let this be a fun part of your journey and sit down and think about where would we love to live? And then do some research, figure out what kind of job opportunities are they in alignment with your career goals? What kind of communities do they have? What are things that you both enjoy? Maybe if you like hiking and nature, I have a lot of family that live in Colorado and Montana and love it there. So figure out what it is, where it is you both want to live, and just know wait times are going to be all over the board, and you'll get there. You'll get there when you get there. One of those meaningless tautologies, right? You'll get there when you get there. And but those, at least I gave you some states where it tends to be longer, and states where California tends to just be typically in general a much faster turnaround time. And then the question about moving. So the other thing is you were asking, what if we move in the middle of the process? Well, that's fine. You're allowed to do that. You do have to update your address with USCIS within 10 days of that move. And in terms of turnaround time, so it'll depend. Like if you're moving to a state that has a longer wait time or a shorter wait time, for some clients, moving actually means that they get a decision faster because they go to a shorter line in a different state. For others, it might put them, in a line that's a little longer and take a little bit more time, but you can move. You just need to update your address. And I think I looked at, it was this part of your question where you were asking about moving during the process. So yes, that makes sense. Hopefully my responses made sense and that was helpful, and good luck to both of you as you decide on where you want to live. That's exciting. All right. So Phil, you were next, and you were asking, so you would let us know about being in the queue for the National Visa Center. So that's exciting. And then you're wanting to know about the National Visa Center and how they handle legal name change submitted during this phase. So the National Visa Center's role in the process is to review your documents and make sure they're in compliance with their checklist. So they're a glorified document collection hub. They probably wouldn't like me calling them that, but that's what it is. They're not making any decisions on the case. It's the consular officer that's going to be making a decision. So when the interview occurs, it's that officer that will be making a final decision. For the name change piece, though, so the National Visa Center isn't going to be like signing off or confirming that there's a name change. They're just going to make sure that if there are name change documents, that they're the proper ones for their checklist. And then typically, if you're changing a name during the process, so there could be a legal name change where you're changing first and middle name, or there can be, and this is a legal name change too, but I mean a legal name change that changes the first or middle name. And then there's a legal name change that happens with the marriage certificate that would just change the last name. And in some cases, it could be your middle name too after marriage. But long story short, if there's some form of legal name change, you have to just disclose that on the application. So that online application called the DS-260, and then you have to provide documentation. So typically that's going to be your, a marriage certificate or some other legal name change document. And then the U.S. Embassy or consular officer, when they're reviewing the case, they'll sign off on that name change. And then that ensures that when immigration prints the visa and the green card, that the new legal name appears. So that is the process for that name change. So I hope that helps Phil and Anne, and it's great to have you here again this week. Annette, you're very welcome. All right, let's see who is next in the queue. Okay, Ashraf, you are wanting to know, you're wanting help with the fiance visa and wanting to know if my firm can help you. Yes, so Ria will be able to message you and she can give you the scheduling link. The very first step is to book a private call with me one-on-one so we can talk by phone or Zoom and talk about your case and your goals. And then we can talk about how our firm can help you and what that looks like in terms of next steps. Also, you're welcome to call the office. That phone number is below, the 317-247-5040, and Ria can get you scheduled as well. So we look forward to speaking with you in private soon. Okay. All right. So you have a complex situation here. So you and good morning to you as well. So you received a 212H waiver for a crime, a CIMT, crime involving moral turpitude, that could make you deportable, but USCIS granted the 212H waiver and adjusted your status. Should you be worried? I don't know if you mean eligible or ineligible for naturalization. Not an aggravated felony, got away. Okay. So you have a very complex situation. So first of all, that's good that you received a waiver of forgiveness. That's really important. That has to happen in order to receive a green card. I would say that traveling outside of the US with your green card would be extremely risky right now. If you have an immigration attorney, I assume you did have an immigration attorney that assisted with the waiver process. If you are still in the middle of any kind of immigration process, you should always consult with your immigration attorney. And if you don't have one, you should speak with an immigration attorney before you travel outside of the US and also before filing for naturalization. So naturalization, and I know you mentioned, that you said it wasn't considered an aggravated felony. I don't have your entire immigration file or your records in front of me to know the details of this offense in your background and how it would impact your ability to file for naturalization. There's a couple different considerations with naturalization. You have to be eligible. So individuals that have aggravated felonies and certain other issues in their immigration history, like a false claim to citizenship, for example, there are certain individuals who are just going to be ineligible for naturalization. You might still be able to keep your green card, but you might be ineligible for naturalization. And another consideration with naturalization is you have to prove good moral character within the statutory period. So if your statutory period, it would either be 5 or 3 years, depending on how you received your green card. You would have to show that you did not have any crimes, that you're a person of good moral character, you filed your taxes, all of that during that time frame. So there's a couple different considerations before you take steps to file naturalization. And there can be situations where filing naturalization can be risky to your overall status. So all of that to say that there's no way for me to give you conclusive legal advice without doing research and reviewing all of your records. So it's a great question. I'm glad you're asking these questions before doing anything, but definitely before traveling outside of the US or before filing for naturalization, it's imperative that you speak with an immigration attorney who can review your immigration history and your records and advise you on eligibility and risks, okay, for filing. And so that's something that I can definitely speak with you about in private to be able to go over things in more detail. And I know Rhea put the links in, and you're welcome to schedule the consultation, and I'd be happy to speak with you in private. All right. Okay. So, and Annette, you said you received your notice of action, your approval for the petition for your K-1. So congratulations. And you're waiting on the NVC to send everything. Tired of waiting. Indeed. I know that's part of the immigration process, is lots and lots of waiting. Really build your patience, but we're all hoping that case gets transferred for you quickly. Okay. And if you're enjoying today's session, if you're finding the answers and everything helpful, please do give a thumbs up or a heart or something like that. Since I can't see you, I appreciate that. So I know that that you're all receiving the information and then it's been helpful. So Patrick, it looks like you're up next here. And good morning to you as well. Your fiance is going for her embassy interview in a couple of weeks. She doesn't have any AKAs. How does she get the NBI with AKAs if she doesn't have any aliases? So I'm guessing this is in the Philippines, perhaps. Yeah, I don't see any other parts to your question. And I'm guessing you mean that also known as, like, other names that have been used. I'm not sure exactly what you are asking, but if you're trying to get a police background check, if that's what you're asking about, if you're trying to get a police background check and an individual has other names used, you typically need to disclose those. If there aren't any other names used outside of a legal name, then that's all that's disclosed, so you can obtain the police clearance record. I think that's what you're asking. Hopefully that's answering your question. Hi, Melanie. It's good to have you with us. You just wondering what happens if conditional green card is denied. What would be the next steps? So if your conditional green card, so if you have a 2-year conditional green card and you file for removal of conditions, if for any reason that case were denied, it would depend on the reason for the denial. Typically, there would be an opportunity to respond to some kind of request for evidence or notice of intent to deny. In some cases, if the case were denied after that, there would be an option for appeal. And in other situations, the case would then be referred to deportation proceedings in front of an immigration judge. So that would be what is happening if if a removal of conditions case is denied. Typically, those would be the next steps. Hi, Stacy, and you're wanting to know about financial requirements you need for the AOS. And so AOS to me means adjustment of status. That's the commonly used term. I know that's not what you mean. It's just everybody seems to say that who's not an immigration practitioner, but to us that means adjustment of status. But I know you mean affidavit of support, the I-864. So the minimum financial requirement depends on your household size. So you have to first look at your household size, and that is going to be, if you're married, your spouse, and any dependent children or family members that are included on your tax return as dependents. If you're in between tax years and you've recently had a child, even though obviously your child wouldn't be on the prior tax return as a dependent, that child is also included. If you've ever sponsored someone before for an immigration benefit, that could be that you were not just a petitioner, but maybe you served as a financial joint sponsor. That's possible. You would have to include that individual as well. So after you determine your household size and including anyone you've ever sponsored before, then you have to go to something called the I-864P. It's the poverty guidelines. And then you'll determine based on your household size, what is that income threshold for you to be the sole financial sponsor for the case. So you'll take what you make on your tax returns and what's your current income to determine whether or not you make enough. All right. So that's the minimum financial requirement. And I know you said documents too. I assume you mean like how much you have to make. And so you'd have to do that calculation of household size and determine how much you need to make based on those poverty guidelines. And then from there, it'll depend on what is your source of income. So if you have a job, then you'd need to make sure you have your tax returns from the past 3 years. You have paycheck stubs, proof of employment. Some individuals are self-employed, so they might not have paycheck stubs. They might have 1099s, or you might have distributions. So it'll just depend if you're a W-2 employee or self-employed. Some individuals are retired, so proof of their Social Security income, any pensions, any retirement, any assets that they have. So the documents that are needed will really depend on what category or what camp do you fall in: self-employed, W-2 employee, using assets, and retired. So hopefully that's helpful and that answers more than maybe what you were asking. Okay. So hi, Hector. I think I remember you joining us in prior live, so it's great to have you back. You're a U.S. citizen in Georgia. You were married in Honduras, and you just watched the video interview tips. Your stepdaughter is 11, so no interview for her. So stepchildren actually will be interviewed. It depends. The video that the one that was just released, that is for adjustment of status. So that's for individuals who are interviewing inside the U.S. And so typically, yes, children and anyone who's adjusting status in the U.S. will have an interview, and that's actually the rule now. If it sounds like your interview would be happening abroad in Honduras, or their interview rather. And so it really depends on the consular post. Certain consular posts say children over a certain age have to attend. Others say children under a certain age don't have to attend, just the primary or the principal immigrant beneficiary. So in general, it'll really depend. Once the interview is scheduled, once you get to that stage, typically they're going to let you know who needs to attend the interview and whether or not she would need to go. So it'll just depend. But for a child who is a minor, when they do have to attend, typically the extent of their interview, they'd be with their parent, is confirming their identity, their age, their date of birth, and their full name. All right. Okay, so for the I-130 application, your husband used a copy of his birth certificate and can't find the original. He went to get a new original, but it doesn't look the same as the copy we sent with the I-130 application. What should we do at this point? Yeah, so that's common. If you're going to get a certified copy of a birth certificate, it will look a little different as long as all of the biographic details, name and date of birth and all of that are correct. It is common though, when you get another one, that it will be different. And so if you're going through the I-130 application process, depending on your case type, I'm not sure if you said, where your spouse is at right now, but I assume that they are abroad or he's abroad. If they're in the US, either way, my point is there's going to be additional steps in your process. And in each step, you have to update information and documents. So there'll be opportunities in the future for you to update or submit the new, the updated birth certificate. All right. Good morning to you as well. Glad to have you, and that you're just joining us for the first time. So welcome. We're glad to have you in our community. Nay, I know you had some other questions, and I just want to give other people a chance to. Because we have so many people asking questions, I want to go through and try to get all of those. And if we have time here, I'll go back to your question. So Stacy, your spouse recently moved from one state to another state in Nigeria. We are 14 months in on our wait for approval from USCIS. Is it mandatory to submit a change of address? So your case is at the National Visa Center. Let me see. Oh, no, you said USCIS. Sorry. I want to make sure I'm tracking along here. So yes, I would submit, you should submit a change of address to USCIS on your online account for your spouse. The rule with USCIS is if you have an application pending and you move within 10 days of that move, you need to update USCIS. After the petition is approved and it's at the National Visa Center, they don't have that same requirement. So since you're at USCIS still, I would recommend keeping that address up to date. When you get to future steps in the process as well, you'll have to provide those details again, and it will give you an opportunity to provide that new address. Okay, so you just got married to an American in 2022, and you started the process in 2023. You were approved by USCIS, and the case was transferred to the National Visa Center. You were documentarily qualified last year. Congratulations, that's exciting. Yes, you're tired of waiting, and you've still been waiting for that interview. So they do have a new tool in case you missed one of my recent videos. It would have come out on, I think it would have been last Wednesday or Friday. But if you look at the YouTube shorts, I talk about a new tool that the Department of State released that you can actually see the wait times for interviews. We've been waiting for this tool for so long, so it was really great news. And so you can go to that tool. You go to Department of State interview scheduling tool, or interview scheduling status. It's the link is in my short. Ria could probably grab that and post that here for everyone. But basically, the tool lets you see the documentarily qualified date where they're scheduling interviews. So at least it gives you a little more insight on how close you are to that interview, and can give you some hope as you're waiting. I know it takes a long time to get interviews sometimes, and it can be hard, but hang in there. It will come when you feel like you just can't wait anymore. That's usually when the interview will come. Okay. I'm gonna see who's next. Make sure I didn't miss anyone. Okay, so you're in Nigeria, living in Ghana. You've been waiting for your spouse visa interview for over a year. Yes, it's a very long wait time. And you've not heard anything from the MDC. So the same answer that I had given before, definitely check out that tool. Ria, if you can grab the video, it's one of the short videos that was from like last Wednesday or Friday that talked about the interview scheduling too. There you go. Ria's putting that in there for everybody now. So you can click on that. You put in your country where the interview will occur, and then it'll show the documentarily qualified date. So you can see where they're scheduling interviews and get a little bit better idea of how much longer you have to wait. Hang in there. We're all hoping you get your interview soon. All right. So Nay, actually, I can go back to your question. I got through the others. I just wanted to give everybody a chance. So this will be my last question for today. So you're wanting to know what the process of changing interview location from one country to another. So you can make a request to have the interview transferred to another U.S. embassy or consulate, but every U.S. embassy or consulate has their own rules for the cases that they will accept. Typically, at a minimum, you have to have some kind of lawful status in that country, be it a work permit or some kind of residency status. Sometimes we have individuals who have citizenship in multiple countries, and then we can pick. For countries that allow you to have your interview if you're a citizen there, then we can pick. So that's the starting point, is you'll have to make sure that that embassy will accept the case, and also making sure that when you're trying to transfer the case that you understand current wait times. So I would use that tool, because you definitely don't want to transfer the case to another post that has a long wait time, because you are going to be put at the end of that line. So you'll want to make sure you're strategic in that request. But if you're able to determine that the embassy or consulate is able to accept the transfer, you would reach out to that U.S. embassy or consulate and ask them if they would accept the case. And they're typically going to have you provide proof of, work permit, residency, citizenship status, in order for them to decide whether or not they want to accept the transfer. So hopefully that helps answer your question. That's a great question. Okay. So that was my last question for today. Again, it was great to be with all of you. I will be back next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Please do check out the free resource center at immigrationforcouples.com. Ria had posted the link in the comments as well. And Nancy, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure. It was great to be with all of you today. All right. Have a great weekend. I know or a great rest of the week and a great weekend. I'm excited for the weekend. I have plans with family. I'm already thinking about it. But have a great week and a great weekend. And I'll see you all next week, Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Take care, everyone. Bye, Ginger.